They are nested with sin. Free them, that they may know my... Yara! Where is the other apostate? Clip her wings.
Yara. Demons are coming. Cut her down. She's one of them.
Lev.
Watch your backs.
It's been almost a year since we announced Last of Us Part 2. It's been hard being quiet for so long, but in the meantime, we've put out a little game called Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. With that finally out there and people playing it and enjoying it, the entire studio is now on The Last of Us Part 2. We're in full production. Every game leverages all of what we learned and all the technology we've built on the previous titles. So this is definitely using all the tech, all the engine improvements we made of Uncharted 4, and now we've had several years to build whole new tech to increase the fidelity even further of our game. So this is the next evolution of our Naughty Dog engine as far as lighting, as far as our character pipeline, how we do muscle deformation, rain effects, even like our facial performance is this whole new rig and whole new pipeline so we can get an even truer performance to what we're capturing on stage. And now we want to give the fans a little something more, lifting the curtain a little bit on the story for The Last of Us Part 2.
Yara! Where is the other apostate? Clip her wings.
The Last of Us, at its heart, is about Joel and Ellie and their journey, but it's also an ensemble piece with all these other characters fitting into that theme, and this time we wanted to focus on some of the other really important characters. last year at the PlayStation Experience, we talked about the theme of hate and how much of this story revolves around that. This, you could see in a lot of ways, speaks to that. So instead of giving you an adjacent puzzle piece about Ellie and Joel's journey, we want to go somewhere else and give you something else and see how people make the connections. But as far as who these characters are, what their conflict is, where this takes place, when this takes place, we're going to leave it up to the fans for now.
What would you do if the world you knew was gone? All the comforts, the simple pleasures you took for granted. How would you protect yourself and the ones you love when the protectors can't even save themselves?
Army's pulling out. Come on. Last truck. Get in.
Some of this? How about you?
How will you decide who belongs?
Thanks. I owe you.
How will you choose a place to call home? How will you build it? Work together to defend it from the terror just outside the walls. When you get hungry, cold, what risks will you take? What mistakes will you make? When the only family you've got is about to tear itself apart, will you end a life?
Wait,
Or save it?
please.
This is our only one, but we need everybody we've got.
get in too deep and realize no one gets a second chance.
How will you find the strength to carry on? In this world of the living and the dead, how will you survive?
Road, and then Deacon had to turn his back, shoot a wolf, and he got
clotheslined
clotheslined right
yeah,
up there,
yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So this time you see that he wasn't being chased by the wolves. That's a dynamic event that can just that can happen or not. It just depends on when you're playing the game.
Interesting.
And this time Deacon saw the ambush and he was able to avoid it. So he kind of comes up and around and behind them.
So does weather impacts whether these creatures show up or not in daytime and nighttime, all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially the freakers, they come out, they're mostly nocturnal, but they will come out as the weather gets colder. They become stronger in the cold.
Right.
And so that will, again, kind of change up the way the game plays.
That's very, very, I kind of love that you decided to do this as a demo to show two completely different iterations on the same exact mission in the game.
Yes, exactly. So we wanted to have, the job is basically the same. Deacon hears that his buddy's in trouble, rides out to save his life. And, as you can see here, this is a completely different experience from what we showed in the first demo. In the first one, Deacon gets clotheslined, and it sounded very painful, by the way.
Oh, speaking of painful, okay, so the combat in this game is fairly brutal. John, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, we just wanted to make it as realistic as possible. So, yeah, we're not holding back on that at all. And Sam's done most of his own stunt work for this. And I can tell you that when we're on the performance stage and we're capturing that stuff, we just try to keep it real, right?
Right. Well, right. There was sort of a decision made at some point. What I've been on the project for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, I think 3 years.
And so early on, I think there was a more, what were we? It was more Kurt Russell and sort of a two-fisted thing, and then it turned into, hey, let's take this quite seriously. And what that required is a lot more. Taking this combat stuff and showing the horror of the violence that happens and it were this type of circumstance to take place. I mean, realism, weirdly enough, is the thing we keep going back to when it comes to the, not just the stunts, but also the performance style. I think, it was very important that it doesn't seem like a bunch of actors, saying lines. It was all very incidental.
And we wanted the world to sort of reflect that as well. So you saw there that, Deacon broke into that emergency vehicle and found some supplies. So this is what we're calling our survival vision. So you saw that earlier when he was looking at Manny's bike on the ground. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of a way of seeing tracks in the world and sort of imagining what might have happened. Mm-hmm. And here, I just wanted to point out that you're seeing in this part of the demo that there are freakers there. There weren't there before because it wasn't snowing. It was, and it was getting lighter out. It wasn't getting darker like it is. And so, it changes up the way you can play through the level.
And what is this?
We call this the meat wall.
The meat wall.
Yeah, and it's not just there, to make the guys who put them up to seem evil. They're there for a purpose because, again, freakers are living creatures. They eat. That's their primary thing. They want to eat. And so you hang these dead freakers up, and any freaker, rather than coming into their camp like you see here, they would actually
stop and snack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with this freaker that they've hung upside down. Mm-hmm. There's a bear trap underneath it, and they use that because a freaker will come, be attracted to the meat, and then hit that trap.
Interesting.
Another thing you just saw, by the way, is that tin can.
The tin can trap that you
that's an alarm that the Marauders will put up, and this is again some of the things that Marauder camps just do. And you find these Marauder camps throughout the world. You'll find traps like that, and then if you're careful and you're paying attention, you can avoid them. Because in the first demo, Deacon didn't avoid it, and he set off that alarm.
Right. Now this is the same tactic that he used last time. Throws the rock to get someone to lure him over and have him step in the bear trap. But this one plays out a little bit differently than last time. One of the things that struck me, and we've talked about this obviously as we've shot, but there's an effort of the other Marauders to get this guy to shut up, and he won't.
Yeah, and so in the first demo, Deacon's heading on down the trail, and you can hear that happening behind him.
Right.
And this time we're showing what happened. So, he's watching everybody react to this poor guy trapped in the in that bear trap, and she just is like, shut up, shut up, shut up, and then just loses it and shoots the guy.
Right.
And of course, in the meantime, Deacon, is crafting a Molotov and just takes them all out.
Right. Oh boy, that's good. Ow.
So again, it's like in the previous demo, Deacon would have gone off to the trail down to the right. This time he's going to head this way. He follows the tracks, and comes under a sniper attack.
Now let me ask you something about the survival. Okay, there's a sniper attack coming, but the survival vision is, if you don't say upgrade your survival vision, can you miss clues? I mean, are there things that you would get if you upgraded your survival vision that would help you complete the mission better?
Exactly, and you have to, we have a whole skill tree, and it's all tied to the experience that you can earn as you're just playing through the game, and then you can upgrade those things.
What's happening here? We got a freaker tied to a tree.
Yeah, so this is another type of trap that Marauders will set. They will they will basically chain freakers to the perimeter of their camps, and they use them as kind of an alarm system. And then that, you saw that Marauder there. He was just tormenting the poor freaker, and then so Deacon kind of takes advantage of that.
Well, and you think for a moment that Deacon is the guy. He's sort of helping the freaker by getting the guy that taunted him. Is like, no, and then he's going to take the freaker out right afterward.
Exactly.
And this is a bit of silent sniping using the crossbow.
Yeah, so this whole sequence at the end plays out very differently. In the first demo, you saw Deacon use a swarm. He weaponized a swarm, lured them into the camp, and then they kind of did the work for him. There's no swarm in this run-through. Right. So the player really has to go in and use what we're calling our strategic sandbox combat, and that's just, stealth mechanics and setting and using traps, whole arsenal of weapons. You see there's a variety of weapons that Deacon's going to use through this, including the crossbow. He crafts his own bolts. And he's got to figure out how to get up to Manny, just using his combat skills instead of doing it strategically.
So straighten me out. Those bonfires, were those there in the previous demo?
No, they weren't. Right. So.